everybody, my name is Tommy Kraft, and I would like to welcome you to the 7th Star Trek Horizon video blog. What you just saw was the scene that takes place directly after the opening scene that was released on YouTube during our Kickstarter campaign. I hope you liked it, and it was kind of my way of apologizing for going so long without any important media updates, and especially without updates on our vastly successful Kickstarter campaign, which made over 226% of its original $10,000 goal, and I couldn't be more thankful to all of you who supported us and helped us get there. In fact, we budgeted a 5% dropout rate in our initial projections for the Kickstarter. That is, we expected that 5% of people total would not be able to come through on their pledge for whatever reason. In fact, we wound up with a little over $20,000, which is not even close to 5%. We did an incredible job, and you guys, almost all of you, came through, and I could not be more appreciative for that. And because of that, I will be running all of the names of the donors at the end of this vlog, and they will all be up on the official website where everybody can see in a section who has supported this film, because we wouldn't be able to do it this way without you. And the main part of this vlog is to show you what we've been doing since the end of the campaign and the cool things that the money has gone to and is continuing to go to help take this film to the next level. And so the first thing I'd like to show you is how we will be using 3D printing, which is something that we would have never had the money for before the Kickstarter, to enhance our prop selection for this film so that we can fully design props in 3ds Max on the computer and then print them out with the printer, paint them, put them together, and have quality top-notch props that we wouldn't have been able to have before. And the first prop is this really awesome Romulan Disruptor put together by Eric Henry. Now, originally when Eric sent it over, it was just one solid piece that looked pretty much like this. And upon testing printing with the model, it became apparent that it would be easier to print it in multiple pieces. And upon thinking about that, I realized this could be a really cool hero prop with a lot of functionality. And so I began carving out the interior of the prop and figuring out a really cool functionality for it to have. And I'm going to show you how it works. So the first thing we have here is the back of it where our battery will go. And this will just be a 9-volt battery. They'll just slide right in here, and the wires will come off it and go up and down here. And there's a general purpose on-off switch up here, and this controls the whole gun, whether or not you can fire it, supposedly, because there's a light that lights up when you fire it, and whether or not the indicator light that'll go up here is on or off. And once you get past there, the trigger switch here is a momentary switch. And the really cool part about this gun is that when the Romulan soldier who is firing it, say he fires a little too quickly, a little too often, the gun overheats, you can pop it open, and don't pay attention to this. We'll come back to that in a second. You can pop it open, and there's this rod down here, and there'll be another one up here. And these are supposed to be power cells. They'll be transparent with lights inside of them. And that will allow the user to supposedly cool off the power cells faster to allow them to fire the gun again. And so, closing it back up, if we just come inside and look here, we have channels built for the rods. Now, you'll see that there's this interesting shape here. It's got some cutouts, some rivets and valleys and stuff like that in it. And there's one here on the bottom too, with this hole in the bottom of the gun. That's because originally the way the gun was going to open was going to be with a spring-loaded mechanism. You're going to essentially push a little button or lever here that would push up, and it would push on the rod, and it would come up past the edge, and the spring on the side of it would catch, and it would shoot forward, and it would pull open the front of the gun like so. But in experimenting with the prototype weapon construction, it became apparent that it was going to be really hard to fit all those mechanisms in there between the wires and the battery and the lights. And I started thinking about other ways to do this. And so that is where we'll come back to the cylinder you saw sticking out of there. I'm just going to make that transparent. And what I eventually decided to do was this cylinder here represents a motor. And it's the actual size of a motor that I bought. And this is a worm gear setup. And so essentially what's going to happen then is we're going to use a microcontroller to control the process. And when you press a button that will be on the actual gun over here somewhere, I haven't actually put it up here yet, but when you press the button, the motor will activate and it will turn the gear, which will slide this gear here, and it will move the tube, which will in turn move this whole front piece forward. And the microcontroller will allow us to, after you've hit the button once to do this, it will then reverse the polarity on the switch, causing the motor to run backwards next time and come back shut. And that should be much more cool than the spring-loaded mechanism, I think. And on top of that, our lights, you know, the wires will come through here, and there'll be an always-on, on-off indicator light in here. And this element is a really cool-looking element that Eric added that I think has a really nice Romulan vibe to it. And down here, we'll have a beam emitter light that whenever you push the trigger, it'll activate. And this will add a lot for shooting because you'll actually be able to see something in the hands of the actors and other actors casting light off of them. And it will add a nice sense of realism to it. And so that's the basic process of the gun. Over the course of this, I've printed many versions of various parts of it to kind of figure out how it will all fit together. And this is what I've finally come up with. And through the construction of the initial prototype is when I came up with the motor idea. And I think this is going to be a really cool prop. And as you can see from the prototype, even that version is pretty nifty. And so moving on from this prop, there's a couple other things I want to take a second to talk about. If we come over here into Makerware, the software that comes with the 3D printer, I actually like this software so far. I've tried some other ones. Replicator G is pretty good. But this one so far, since I figured out the back end, has been serving the needs pretty well. These are all the different models I've been working on. These are our Admiral rank pips that you will all be getting. And these are going to be 3D printed. And the final versions actually look really great, as you can see up there on the screen. And so another thing I'd like to talk about is coming up in the next video blog, I'm going to finally be doing the tutorials I mentioned a long time ago, and I'm going to go through in a very detailed video describing the process I went through to create the opening scene, which is also up on YouTube for anyone to see. And right here we have the World Gate scene in 3ds Max. And I will be releasing this as well for anyone who wants to take a look at it and play with it if you are so inclined. And it's all in here. We have the interior that you saw in the scene. And I'm going to go through the whole process, how I kind of came up with this interior, how I shot it, composited it, etc., etc. So for those of you who are very into the behind-the-scenes process of how this goes together, it should be very exciting for you. And finally, what will be coming up after that is an in-depth tutorial of the start to finish on how I put together the Admiral's jacket, which is now done. And I hope you all like it. I kind of just basically powered through this one, got it done in a couple days working straight, filmed the whole process, and I'll have that up for you as well. And far be it from me to take a selfie, but here's a picture of me in the Admiral's jacket. The only thing left to do now is to put on the cuffs that are different for each rank, whether it's an Admiral or a Commodore, etc., wearing the jacket. And now as we come to the end of this video blog, I'd like to once again thank you all for supporting us on Kickstarter and helping to make this a reality. And you can see the names rolling by there, and I couldn't be more appreciative for helping us with this. So until next time, live long and prosper.